You want a Gy6 Ruckus that looks like this on a budget? Check it. What's up, you guys? This is our Gy6 stretch kit. This is a very entry-level kit. This will get you lowered and stretched with the Gy6 in your Ruckus. Let me show you what's all entailed. We got the 8-inch wide tire kit. We've got the Gy6 swap harness, 20-minute install, wiring harness, no cutting or splicing wires or any sort. 20 minutes, you're wired up. The drag bars, the mount to mount the drag bars. The oil, of course, for the motor. The lowered shock. You got the taillight, the mount to mount the taillight. You got our Gy6 hub, the gasket to do the short wheel axle. Your pod style air filter, Gy6 150cc carburetor, the 150cc engine, the JDM stretched Ruckus billet aluminum mount, short kickstand, Gy6 rear brake cable, low profile tire to mount to your front wheel. Of course, the rear tire to mount to that 8-inch rear rim. We've got the lowered seat, the clocking flange, exhaust gasket. Everything is included in this kit except for the exhaust. We'll install in no time. It's all plug and play, other than a few things that you got to grind off on the frame. And I'm going to show you how to do it. Let's do that. So here is our little barn find / Honda Ruckus that's been sitting around for about 1.5 years and doesn't run, that we're using in the build. There's a few things that we're going to modify that we're not using in this. Like I showed you just a second ago, all the parts that come in the kit, like this lowered black seat frame. It already has a chrome lowered seat frame. We're actually not using that either. What we are using is these lowered. I actually painted these a couple days ago, cleared them. I'm really proud of how these turned out. I also grinded off the rear taillight. You notice there's no taillight here. And then I'll sand it and paint that. That still needs to be done. But I do have some grinding to do still on the frame, and I'll show you what I mean. But here's a quick clip of the frame being modified for the taillight. I'm going to kind of work from the front of the bike to the back. But one of the very first things I need to do is I'm going to pull these bars off, pull this headlight off, and then we'll have to pull the front wheel off to put that front tire on. But the biggest thing is these blinkers, once I lower the bars and put that lowered handlebar clamp, when you turn the handlebars, it's going to hit these flashers. So I'm going to grind the tabs off, and then we won't have that problem anymore. This will give you an idea of the time it's been sitting. It's like spooky underneath the battery box. So here is the little tabs I need to grind off. Generally speaking, you can grind these off and you won't even see behind if you do a good enough job. And then you could just take some touch-up paint. You don't even have to do a great job because it's not even viewable from when it's mounted. You just don't want it to rust. So I'm just going to grind these off, and then I'll touch it up. So I have a little bit of touch-up paint here. I'm going to just going to go over this. You won't be able to see any of this because it's the back side. So I'm just kind of going over the back just so it doesn't rust. I'm just going to start stripping this sucker down. Just getting to the bare bones of the front end here. It's like we found this thing in a barn. Look at this. Dang. You gotta clean all this stuff off. Just a bunch of dust and, I don't know, grime. Now that I got all this stuff taken off, the battery box, the headlight, the little cover, I'm going to utilize this 50cc center stand while we have it. And I'm just going to jack this thing up so that way it kind of teeters till it lands on the back wheel there and our front wheel's off the ground, and I can pull the front end off. That's probably good. Just enough to get it off the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and get this wheel taken off. I probably could have done this beforehand, but to loosen the brake cable, you just turn this, this is like 14 millimeter. And this just slides through. We're going to reuse this little bracket. I'm going to clean all this up and paint it. To get the speedometer sensor out, the idea is to push this down and pull at the same time. So I always just push the screwdriver in there and kind of just got to be a little patient with it. Give a little wiggle, and there you go. Now I can slide my fork back in to its little spot. You notice this little groove here? This groove is made for the top nut to slide into. So, and I'm reusing the little spacer. So the idea is, if you notice here, I can't pull it in and out now because that bolt is in its groove. It's kind of like a safety thing. If you're sitting on it, the left side, you want this fork to be on that side. I'm gonna slide that in. You're gonna want to torque these down to spec. So I've got my big chunky front tire removed from the rim, and I've got the new tire, the low profile tire, in there with the new paint job. Slide my little spacer in, brake pad. Let's install those. But I have to line these two up, get that in real quick and easy. There we go. It's nice and centered since we used our stock spacers. Now I can just simply install the speedometer, and then I'll slide this back through here. Don't forget the little cam that slides through there for the brake, and then only a few threads to hold it in place. Now I'll tighten up my axle, torque it to spec. You want to make sure the wheel spins nice and easy. It's all the way torqued down. And then you can adjust your brake, of course, by tightening this down when you're all done, but I still have to do bars up here. We'll start by getting these controls loose. If you've never had this apart, some Ruckuses are a real bear to get these. But what you can do is take that, a number 2 screwdriver, and hit it with a hammer on the back while turning. Or you can use an impact screwdriver. Pull that out of there. Same thing over here. Remember that trick with the screwdriver if it's really tight. Keep in mind that this screw that I just took out is shorter than the first screw I took out. And then unscrew your speedometer cable off your speedo. We're actually going to be using this speedo again, so I'm going to need it off of there. All of these cables need to be ran through here, and I really don't want to like take all this stuff off. These are going to go straight into the trash. I'll just cut a slit in here, that way it's less work basically. Or you can take these all apart and the cables, the controls, everything, and slide them through. Now I can just pull these things out like that real easy. Lazy man way of doing things. If there's an easier way, I will do it. So now that everything's off the bars, all we have left is this nut here, just 17 millimeter. Before I remove the bars, slide it down the grip with a screwdriver, and then stick your carb clean. Just a few little small squirts, and then kind of work the screwdriver around. This is if you plan to save the grip, which we are going to. And then you can go, there's still a little, there's a little more resistant, there it goes. And then I can just pull it off like that. Kind of kills the glue. All right, let's get these bars off. 17 millimeter nut right here. Loosen that sucker up. The other side spins. Don't let the other side spin, or you're not getting the nut off. On the other side, I'm gonna pull this out and show you what I mean. See that? Don't lose that. Pull your bars off. Here's our little new bar mount. That's gonna slide just down like that. You'll slide the screw through like that. And remember, on the other side, I told you to keep this thing right here. That goes on the other side. On the other side where that nut is, I recommend using a little bit of red Loctite because you don't want that bolt coming loose. Pull the caps off. What is that, 6 millimeter. Now we'll line our bars up. They're gonna overlap just a hair. Put her back on there. Once I get one kind of tightened down, I could do a little bit of red Loctite on these. I kind of like just try to make these gaps on each side of the bars equal. That looks pretty sharp. Oh yeah! I'm gonna spray a little carburetor cleaner in this grip and put it back on. And in order to do this, see, this one's gonna go on the same way, just like this, but there's a little notch right here that you're gonna need to drill once you figure out exactly how you're gonna have this. So what I wanna do, I wanna be careful because I don't wanna scratch these bars up. Probably about like that. So now I'm gonna come over on the top, and I know where this little knob is. There's a little notch right here. And I'm going to mark that because that's where I need to drill a hole. And just so you're clear, this is the little notch I'm talking about, right there. And the reason why that's there is because when that notch is drilled, then you can't get any movement like forward and back. That locks it in when it's tightened down. So that little notch that I made, I could see it. I'm just going to make a little punch mark so when I drill it catches right there. So this is a 7/32 drill bit. So there is the hole that I drilled. So that turned out pretty nice. So right now I have just like one screw in there, barely. So I want to make sure that it's pushed all the way down, because see how you can move it? Push it all the way in, but just slightly. You don't want the end of the grip rubbing. And then you're gonna kind of line up, because these got to be, you got to have these equal, these levers. You don't want one up here and one back there. So do that, pull it back a little bit, take your time, then mark it. Line that sucker up. Yeah, that looks pretty good. The levers are matched up. That's what we're looking for. So one thing I did off camera is I mounted this speedometer. You can do that in your own little way. But I put this little cover on so that I can like see if it hits, binds up in any way, and it doesn't. This looks kind of ratty. I'll clean this up at the very end. All right, bars on. Basically where I'm at right now, I can put the battery box on, start it right away as if it's a 50cc. Essentially all we've done at this point is put these bars on and a different tire on the front wheel. So that'll give it that lowered kind of stretched, it'll match the lowered stretch look. We don't have those, you know, big bars, big tire, off-road look type thing. So I'm going to keep all this off because we still have to do wiring. But one thing I do need to do is I need to pull off the rear brake cable. And that's going to go along with pulling this motor out. So it'll kind of blend together. So I want to let you guys know something kind of cool. We have this as a digital download on our website, so you can like literally download this whole video series. Not just the one you watch, the whole entire build onto your iPad, computer, whatever you want. I'll put the link down below, or you can go to rollingwrenchdemmer.com. Or if you buy the whole entire Gy6 stretch kit, it comes for free. So I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you in the next video.